I know some folks, especially remote, are still struggling with doing the particle conversions. And it's not because it's actually any harder than what you were doing in the dimensional analysis quest, but I think what's happening is we're freaking out because scientific notation looks weird. We're having issues getting it in the calculator, and we're having issues getting our answers entered. So I wanted to walk you guys through a couple. This is how all of them will basically look. Hopefully this will help get a few more things sorted out. So first problem we're going to do is this one. How much carbon is in 2.54 times 10 to the 22nd atoms of carbon? And we're trying to answer in units of moles. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set it up correctly. Please do not try and just remember whether we're multiplying, dividing, or guess where we're putting things. Actually write it down. You can do it in a doc like this. I usually do it on paper, but this is easier to show all together with everything else. So as you should know by now with dimensional analysis, what we're given is always going to be put top left. So what I'm given here is 2.54 times 10 to the 22nd atoms. The times 10 is really important. Knowing that the units are atoms are really important. You need to make sure all of that is there. If you leave off the times 10, your answer is going to be really, really off. All right, and if I've got atoms top left, we should know by now in dimensional analysis that I need atoms down here. And remember, the only conversion, with a couple minor exceptions, most of which for regular at least are extra credit, with a couple minor exceptions, the only conversion we can use if I'm dealing with the 6-1 particle quest is that, as you can see right here, 1 mole equals 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd parts. If my units are moles, it's going to say moles. Anything else for the most part is going to be parts. So atoms are definitely parts. So I've got atoms here, which means I've got atoms, aka parts down here, which means my 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd is going to follow that. And if I put this half on bottom, I know I've got to put the other half, my 1 mole, on top. So now I've got it set up because my atoms will cancel. It'll leave me with moles, which means now I have to do the math. And again, you should have enough practice in dimensional analysis by now to know we're going to multiply these two numbers, but any number times 1's not going to change. And I'm going to divide if something's on the bottom. This is where the calculator issues come in. My strong suggestion is to use the Google Scientific Calculator. You can do this on an iPhone calculator, okay. There are a couple things that can go wrong, and I don't have an iPhone to show you on right now. So if you're struggling with putting the calculator, do it exactly like I'm about to show you. So we start with our number on top. We're going to start with our 2.54, and instead of typing out 10 to the 22nd, because A, it's more things to click, and B, here in a minute you're going to run into issues if it's treating it like two numbers. We want to make our lives easier, not harder. So we're going to replace times 10 to the with an E, and you're going to get that E by hitting the EXP. Don't use this lowercase e. This is the only button you want. You want the EXP button, because this E is going to replace times 10 to the power of. So we've got 2.54 times 10 to the power of 22. That's all you've got to type. Now we need to divide by my 6.02. So we're going to do the same thing again. 6.02. This is going to replace times 10 to the power of 23. 6.02E23 is treated as a single number, so you don't run into order of operations issues. We hit enter. This is my answer. Watch out for super tiny numbers like this in Quest. In Quest, try to keep more digits than you think. 2 decimal places is okay if it's over 1. If you're not sure, keep more digits. Quest is more likely to count it wrong if you round too much. So in this case, since we're less than 1, we got to keep at least 3 non-zero digits. So I'm going to type this in as 0.0422. You can put your moles if you want. It's not going to count it wrong. You can leave your moles off. Either is okay. What's actually checking is the number. So I submit my answer. And I'm right. I can move on. So now I want to do one where we're going the other way, where we're starting with moles. So this next question, we want to know how many atoms are in 5.2 moles. So again, I'm going to put what I'm given, top right, 5.2 moles. Don't try and add a 10 anywhere in this. Use the number exactly as they gave it to you. So here, I'm starting with moles, which means down here I also need moles. And if I look at my conversion, I have 1 mole in my conversion. And again, we talked on the last problem that atoms are going to be parts. So I need my 6.02 up top. So 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. The reason it's atoms is because zinc is a pure element, and so the smallest part of zinc, its representative particle, is going to be an atom. Same basic principle when I'm putting it in the calculator, only this time my numbers are next to each other, so we're going to multiply. So we've got 5.2, no E, because it's just 5.2, times 6.02. Now I use my E because I've got a times 10 to the, so it's times 10 to the 23rd equals. So make sure you're not just doing 3.13. If I put in 3.13, it's wrong because, yes, this number rounds to 3.13, but that's not all of the number. This E24 means my decimal place needs to move 24 places, and there's a big difference between 3 and 3 with 24 zeros. So when in doubt, and this is one of the good reasons to use a scientific calculator on Google, you can actually copy this whole number and paste it into the box on Quest, and there's your answer. It's correct. If you're typing it out on your own, you just type in the E. The plus is optional, because if you don't write anything, it's understood to be plus. This can be a lowercase e, it can be a capital E. But if you're not sure, use this scientific calculator, copy the whole number, paste the whole number, hit submit. All right, the only other kind we're doing, the only time you're going to do something that's not 6.02, I want to show you guys this one because this one freaks people out because it's a little different than what they've done. And it's honestly a matter that people think it's too easy. So it's my number 11. And remember, the questions are scrambled, so my 4 and 5 is not the same as your 4 and 5. All right. So this is the only other one we can have to do. So we're going to scroll down and put another one of these set of tracks. This, by the way, is just a table with the outside turned off. Okay. That's how I got it for the 6.2 template for my regular kids. If you want to just use a table to show your work digitally, that's okay. I don't care if you have the outside boxes. I was just trying to make it look like it looked in the notes. So this is a slightly weirder case. So, but again, in this problem, I'm given in 4.8 moles of SO2. So I always put what I'm given right here. So I'm given 0.048 mole SO2. So if I've got moles of SO2 there, I know I need moles of SO2 there, and it's usually safe to say that it's 1 mole, in this case of SO2, because my units have to match so they cancel. But this is where it's slightly different. So on the previous questions, I was trying to go to atoms. If you read this question carefully, in 0.48 moles of SO2, there are how many moles of oxygen atoms? So if it was actually asking me for oxygen atoms, this would be 2 steps. It's asking me for moles of oxygen, though. So look, if you look at your formula, for every 1 SO2, think about how many oxygens we have. It's SO2. For every 1 mole of SO2, I've got 2 moles of oxygen. So this is the only case where 1 mole is not 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd in the 6.1 quest. If it's asking about moles of an element in a compound, then we're looking at your subscripts. You'll also see that in that 5-part question when it's asking you to go from molecules of O2 to O and molecules of NH3 to H. Once you know your molecules, you use your subscripts. Don't try and use 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd twice in one problem. It's going to end badly. Note, with this one exception, every single time I put moles, it was 1 mole. And every single time, the 1 was with the moles, the 6.02 is with your atoms. It could be with molecules, it could be with formula units. 6.02 is never, ever, 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 ever gonna go with your moles. Make sure you are following your conversion. Don't try and just put 1 on the bottom every time because you're gonna end up wrong. All right, let's finish out this problem. So I've got 4.48 and I've got 2 both on top. I've got a 1 on the bottom, so I just need to multiply. So I'm just going to do 0.48 times 2.96. Make sure you're looking at your actual numbers. Yours is probably not 0.48 because it randomizes the numbers. But in this case, my answer is just going to be 0.96. You don't have to put the 0 in front, but it's usually safer. All right, submit answer. And we got it correct. All right, so remember, the first time you get it wrong, doesn't take any points off. It takes off fractions of a point after that. If you've got it wrong more than 2 or 3 times, though, please email me. If you're going to email me, though, send me a screenshot of how you have your problem set up, either like this or just take a picture of it on paper. And tell me what calculator you're using if you're not using the Google Scientific Calculator in particular. All right, hopefully this helps y'all out. If you're still having issues, I'm in tutorials right now. I can be in tutorials tomorrow before school or today after school, but you got to let me know. All right. Good luck, and hopefully this helps.